So how much controversy can I pack into one podcast? How many controversial topics? I'm going to talk about one more based on an article I just read that New York State seems to be paving the way to joining states like Vermont and Oregon and a handful of others in legalizing assisted suicide. Now, I'm not going to moralize over this topic. I'm just going to report some of the facts that are coming out from this. Um, a story, real quick. An ex-girlfriend's father. He was a retired police officer. He was 62 years old, and he was diagnosed with a it was Alzheimer's, but it was a different form of Alzheimer's. He was told that he was going to, instead of like a gradual descent, it was going to be more like falling off a cliff, you know. So it was, and they didn't know when it was going to happen. Like he was just going to be kind of okay, and then just sudden steep drops in cognitive function. And it scared him like it would scare anybody because it's hard to wrap your mind around something like that. And he said to his family, um, if we don't do something about this, I'm just going to put a gun in my mouth and shoot myself. And he meant it. He meant it. He meant it as I would mean it in a situation like that. The man's a police officer. Weapons are not boogeymen to him. If he's got to take a gun, put it in his mouth, and pull the trigger, he will, right? So I'm not sure what they were considering. I think, but well, they got it in writing. They did the legal thing, and so when he's at a certain point, they were going to, go the assisted suicidal path. They were talking about a country in Europe at the time that they would have to buy property in. Maybe they utilized one of our states. I'm not sure what they did. Um, I I wasn't around for that. I would imagine that was quite a while ago. So I would imagine that he had the procedure done by now. So that was his situation. I have treated patients where I've seen their status, and I've said to myself, I would not want to be alive if this was me. It's honest. Like I would not want to have to endure this, or face, or have my loved ones endure this. I would just rather not be here. And if I was informed of the same sort of, if I had the same diagnosis as that 62-year-old retired police officer, I may, I can't say I wouldn't want to go that route. Now, I thought this was very interesting. So Canada has implemented this Canada-wide starting in 2016. And it's called Canada's Medical Assistance in Dying Law, or MAiD, M-A-I-D. Like I said, it was legalized in 2016. As of 2021, this is reported by the BBC, the average age of a MAiD recipient was 76, 80% received palliative care, and 65% had cancer. Now, one of the things that they're pushing for, some people are pushing for, is to um, extend MAiD, the Medical Assistance in Dying program or law, to include those suffering from incurable mental health illness or non-curable mental health illness. Now, the Canadian Mental Health Association has warned that it is, quote, not possible to determine whether any particular case of mental illness is incurable. I have to say, I'm kind of flummoxed when it comes to this. So, if somebody is suicidal, can they decide that they just want to have assisted suicide? I go back to Rollo May. He wrote Sophie's Choice and Set This House on Fire. He's a really great novelist. Hey, folks, just to correct myself one more time, I mean William Styron. I'm going to catch myself later. When I'm talking about the novelist who wrote Sophie's Choice and Set This House on Fire and Darkness Visible, among many other great novels and works, I mean William Styron. He wrote a book called Darkness Visible. I suggest everyone read that. It's a small little book, very thin, written in the 90s. He had become suicidal throughout the 80s. It was a clinical depression, real bad case, and wanted to die. And he went through all of that, and he came out of it. So it's like, can somebody who is suicidal which is clearly a mental illness. If he would have decided that to go through that procedure in the 80s, he never would have recovered from it and enjoyed his life in the 90s and so on and so forth. You know, as nurses, we're suicidal patients require a one-to-one and extra care, and that they from my perspective, I don't think that they are able to make choices like that. But this is something, or like I said, the Canadian Mental Health Association doesn't think it says it's not possible to determine whether any kind of mental illness is incurable, right? So in that case, what was the name I used? Did I say Rollo May? No, William Styron. I hope I said William Styron before. William Styron wrote Sophie's Choice, and he wrote Darkness Visible. But William Styron, but if William Styron had chosen to end his life in the 80s legally, if that was a possibility, it would have been a mistake. Would have been a mistake. There is a organization called Dignity Canada that wants to allow what they call mature minors to be allowed the right to choose MAiD. As of 2023, 71% of Canadians support this. Now, that's a whole different beast. Mature minors, as young as 12. Now, to be fair, I'm going to report something that the AP wrote, and I'm also going to report something that they wrote that kind of turns this on its head. The AP refutes this. They had an article that was entitled, Canada isn't pushing minors to end their lives. Current euthanasia laws don't apply to them anyway. And they wrote that the reason why social media users are making this claim is that it's based on a screenshot from a website of an independent organization, Dying with Dignity in Canada, or Dying with Dignity Canada, which is advocating for certain mature minors with severe medical conditions to be able to end their lives. And the screenshot showed a photograph on the top of the website with the caption that said, with the appropriate safeguards in place, mature minors should be allowed the right to choose MAiD. Now, they're saying that's why there's this misinformation online about it. But then I researched more, and as of February 2023, this is reported by Teresa Wright of Global News. A special joint committee of MPs and senators, this is again Canada, concluded that minors deemed to have the appropriate decision-making capacity should be eligible for assisted death. I just think it's a slippery slope. I for one don't believe a minor should be able to choose death. I don't know, that's just me. I can sympathize for somebody like in the example I had mentioned earlier, a 62-year-old man with a diagnosis like Alzheimer's that is going to be incredibly rapid and unpredictable. I can understand a situation like that. If you want to extend it to, I don't know, this incurable, I don't know, what does that mean? Bipolar, certain forms of depression. I don't know about that. And certainly, this idea of mature minor. I'm sorry. Is a kid a kid? Because I'm a parent. And I mean, what does that mean? Treating this like a checklist, meeting like, okay, let's see if you qualify for assisted suicide, shall we? Sit right in the chair. Thank you very much. Would you like some water? How about a lemon? Would you like some crackers? Hey, Jill, bring her or bring him this and that. Let's see how it goes. Let me have my checkboard here. Like you're filling out an MRI form. It's kind of ridiculous to me, but that's what I believe. What do you believe? I'm very interested in knowing. Please DM me, message me, do your research, point out flaws in my commentary, please. I love this stuff. I love reaching out to the medical community, and I love reaching out just to people in general. Like I said, you could find me on Instagram at nurse.dad. I also post videos and shorts and clips on YouTube. That's at nurse/dad. And of course, my website, mynursedad.com. Until our next episode, stay hungry, be humble, You're a stat out.